through the cloud. All right, we are live.
All right, I'm calling the library trustee meeting to order on February 23rd. It is 4:08 p.m. And we do have a quorum, and the minutes from last meeting were distributed early, so hopefully everybody got a chance to read them. Thank you, Ellie.
That's the new schedule now, too.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
What is it? Do you know how long? I think it takes me longer to write the minutes than these meetings last. It's the hardest part is all this account summary junk.
Yeah.
Because I have to put it into my format and it doesn't just replicate itself easily. So
that shouldn't be that hard.
It is really hard.
We should get together and figure out an easier way, because I mean it's already there.
I know.
Just like screenshot it and take a picture. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how to do that. So.
Bring your laptop sometime and we'll figure it out.
Okie doke. The next time I have to do minutes, which is usually on a Monday evening. So I'll become very Monday in the afternoon.
All right, any changes to the minutes?
Nope.
Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes as written. Anybody want to move?
So moved.
Any
I'll
second?
second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. All right, minutes are approved. Move on to the financial report.
Here's our account summaries. Not a whole lot of movement since last time, other than we got our first grant disbursement for the year.
That's right.
Our library incentive grant, the aid we get from the state. So it is there. Other than that, nothing really new to report.
Justin, the grant is in line with what we've gotten in previous years?
Yep.
Okay.
It's pretty much, I think it's about equal to what we got last year.
Okay.
Any questions on the financial report?
Not so far.
Looks good. Ooh, 22.5.
Yeah, 22.5% of the way towards our building renovation goal. That's actually no change from last meeting. I haven't gotten any new checks to deposit into the interest-bearing building fund or the building fund. So that is the same.
All right, if there's no other questions or comments, I think we can move on to the director's report.
The first thing, pandemic open schedule. As you all know, my window is doing something funny here, and I can't see all my text. There we
Neither
go.
can we.
Is it better now?
Yep.
State of, and then it's still not perfect. I mean, there's still stuff makes it missing. Can you take off our pictures? Or make our pictures skinnier?
I think you have to do that on your end.
There we go. Is it good?
It's good for me.
Indicator of the state of the virus in my opinion, is hospitalization rate. So I'm missing something. Let me
Oh,
see.
seeing we closed the library on November 18th.
No, this doesn't make it go. Oh, maybe I can make that go down. Okay, yeah, I got it now. I got rid of all your pictures.
All right, so we closed the library on November 18th. The indicator I've been using since then is the hospitalization rate because daily cases fluctuate. Deaths vary based on, the reporting day. But the number of people in the hospital is the number of people in the hospital. That count doesn't lie. When we closed, Massachusetts was at 885 cases and rising. Today, we're at 888 cases and falling. So based on that data, I would be ready to open the library anytime. But the other thing that we have to consider is our local status. And Douglas is still a high-risk community based on our incidence rate, active cases, and percentage of positive tests, which is interesting because whenever we closed, we were like one of the green communities and this towns around us were red. And now it's kind of reverse. We've got, we're the only red community, I think, in our immediate vicinity, besides Oxford and Blackstone. And you've got other towns, Northbridge is green now, like they're not having the incidence rate that we are. Most libraries aren't reopening until their communities are in the green, on the scale that the Massachusetts, every Thursday they put out a community report that has every community's status, and I put the hyperlink here if any of you are interested in following along.
I was looking at that and I couldn't figure out quite why we were in the red, and I took note of how they get to the red. So it's more than 25 cases in total. And for a town, it's more than 25 cases in a town of under 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because we're so small.
Yeah, it's based on ratios, population, or basically, the percentage of positive cases you have right now, which is your active cases, the percentage of tests that are administered that come back positive, and the incidence rate summarized over the last 14 days.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, I'm just waiting until it turns green, because as soon as we turn green on a Thursday evening, my plan, unless anyone objects, is to open the library the following Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was getting confused too on, because I don't think you said anywhere here that we were actually red. So I didn't know what we were, I didn't know whether green was good or green was bad or gray or yellow, where the indication comes. So green is not the best. Gray is the best.
Gray is the best, then green, then yellow, then red.
Okay.
Where is do y'all still see the report, or do you see what I'm scrolling through?
What you're scrolling through.
Okie doke. So public health report. Yeah, so they release these every Thursday. So every Thursday this gets updated, and you can go, and each town has its, you can see the total case count, the current case count, average incident rate, relative change. We're lowering, pretty much everyone is getting lower except for those guys. But yeah, if you scroll down to us, we are there.
Mm-hmm.
So like 3.53% of the tests administered in Douglas have come back positive in the last 14 days. There's 28 positive tests, means there's 27 active cases. I don't know how that works. But this is the dashboard that the Board of Health looks at. And the libraries that are being controlled by Board of Health or town administration right now, this is the metric that they're going on. So most library directors are saying, when we hit green, we'll open, even though we do still have, Northbridge hasn't opened and they're green. Millville hasn't opened and they're gray. As of yet, no one has opened to the public yet. Everyone's just kind of talking about it. But if everyone approves, as soon as we hit green, I want to open. We're kind of running out of excuses, I think, not to.
And would there still be limits on occupancy and time and all that?
We would do the same thing we did before, limit to, so many patrons at a time, limit to 30 minutes. And when we do open again, I'm going to have all of our staff in N95 masks instead of cloth masks, because there's not a shortage at this point. So there's no reason not to, properly mask up.
Yep.
I've been trying to protect our staff, because if any of us had to quarantine or got sick, then all of us would, given the contact we have with each other, which would lead to, the total shutdown of services, no delivery, no curbside, no anything.
So you're not thinking about opening it more hours? I mean, I can see where you need to limit the number of people that are in there and the time limit for them to be there, but I still don't get why we can't have our regular hours to be opened.
Oh, well, when we reopen, actually, we will be open our regular hours. That's the next thing after here. We had a library assistant resign. And so I offered her hours to our other library assistant, because it used to be one position. And I split it into two because I had two applicants that I wasn't 100% sure of either one, but wanted to give them both a shot. So anyway, Rebecca is now working here as the new equivalent Mary Ellen, who retired 3 years ago at this point. So we're fully staffed at this point. So whenever we do reopen to the public again, it'll be regular hours.
Cool. Well, it sounds like a good plan to me.
Me too.
And I hope we hit green sooner rather than later. If we haven't hit green status by next time we have a meeting, I'll probably want to reevaluate.
Are the staff able to get the vaccine if they so choose sooner than later?
Not yet. That would make this a much simpler question. We've done some lobbying with the administration to try to get library staff on the next round of vaccine rollout. But I think everyone from every field is pretty much doing that. So I don't think that it's going to be very effective.
Mm-hmm.
So right now it's just based on comorbidities. There's like a list of, conditions you have. And if you have two or more, you're eligible for a vaccine at this point. Or if you're over 65. But no one on our staff at this point qualifies for that I'm aware of. Any questions about that before I move on to the next thing?
That sounds good to me.
All right, I promised in the email that I would not talk about this extensively, but it's all here for you to read if you want to. But for the past 5 years, we've been slowly kind of bringing our catalog up to speed, because whenever I first started, you would have a spine label that looked like that, just JJDEA. If it was, a juvenile early reader book by a guy named Dean, and it's not descriptive enough. It doesn't tell you there's not enough information on the spine label for a page to know really where it goes, unless they also look at a system of stickers that are on the spine that tell them, this is a green dot, easy reader, it goes here, or we have to put it in a separate pile if it's going to the basement. But long story short, we're going to reprocess, and it sounds worse than it is. But we're going to make new spine labels, and we're going to re-catalog everything in the system. So the spine labels will look like this. Every spine label will have the location the call number prefix, the call number, and the call number suffix, so that as we're checking in books at the circ desk, we could literally just pitch them into a pile, and a page will be able to pick them up and tell exactly where they go without having to, keep a separate pile for attic, a separate pile for story time, a separate pile for basement, a separate pile for holidays. And the other big reason that we want to do this is because it's going to let us break our collection out into different locations. Right now, we don't really use the location field because it's like we have juvenile, we have teen, and we have adult. So like if you look at the juvenile nonfiction, that's everything from, my first letters and my first numbers to my first genocide and World War II stuff for anyone who is, grade 5 through 8. That's not good. So what we're going to do is we're going to break the juvenile and young adult collections into 4 discrete collections. There's going to be early readers, which is infants through kindergarten, juvenile, which is 1st through 4th grade-ish. These are all ish. Youth, grades 5 through 8, teen, grades 9 through 12, and then adult. So we're going to be recataloging everything, giving them proper locations, giving them proper prefix, which, the location will be the age range, the collection. The prefix will be the format, whether it's a board book, picture book, fiction, magazine, DVD, Blu-ray, etc. The call numbers will have, the Dewey number, the author's last name, series if appropriate, and then the suffix for special shelving categories like basement, reference, local history. So basically, the goal is to have a place for every item in its place. It'll be clearly indicated on the spine label where something goes, instead of having to go scan it and look in the catalog to find out if it belongs in the basement if you're not sure. And it'll give kids who are coming into the library, a comfortable place where they can go to access reading material that's on their level instead of having to pour through, everything that they might find demeaningly beneath them. So there'll be, a nonfiction collection for grade school, for high school, for middle school. And this is the big reason I wanted to get the core collections, is because it's going to kind of make this really easy. Because we can access the core collections database. It'll tell us, the reading levels, the grade levels, what collections it is, recommends a book be in, and we can shunt it there. So that's the big project right now.
What does GN stand for under 2, the prefix?
Graphic novels.
Oh, okay.
Blue is Blu-ray. SF is science fiction. LP is large print.
Okay.
So that's exciting. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be worth it when we're done. And it'll also enable an entirely new kind of tracking collections by their usage. Looking at these discrete, early reader, juvenile, youth, teen, adult collections, finding out, how much material we have in each, how it's moving. CW Mars is rolling out a new dashboard for statistics, which is far light years beyond what we've used before, that has charts and graphs and stuff. And this will play into that too.
What's the difference between youth and teen?
Youth we're calling middle school,
okay.
And teen is senior high.
Okay.
Because right now we've just our collections are weird because all we have is juvenile, young adult, and adult. And so in juvenile, instead of classifying things by age group, we've classified things by, whether it's an easy reader or an intermediate reader. So, we have fiction books, which aren't really cataloged as fiction. They're cataloged as, juvenile early readers, as if that is a format, And it's really not a format. It's just fiction that's for that age range. And this will let us get everything properly parsed out, the proper way. Properly. As is proper.
That sounds great.
And as far as circulation, there's no surprises. Books and e-material are still circling better than they did last year. You know, kind of the big story of December was that we circulated a lot more books than we did in 2019. And I actually need to update these dates because it should be 2020 and 2021 now. But we circulated more books in January 2021 than we did in January 2020. Same with digital loans. Everything else is predictably down because we don't have browsers. And also I just haven't been really investing in DVDs. So even if we did, you know, there's two stories there. A, it's a collection that people come in to look at and borrow from. And B, I'm just not buying a lot of, or really any DVDs. Been putting our, you know, circulation budget towards books and ebooks and the audio books instead. There's not a lot of new stuff there. Everyone streams now, and the patrons, we have, I don't know, maybe half a dozen, 5 to half a dozen patrons who really use us to access DVDs and movies, and they all know how to get what they want through the consortium, rather than us having to buy, you know, every new box office release movie. And so I haven't been buying them.
That makes sense.
And that's the end of my director's report.
All right, any questions or comments? Hearing none, we can move on to old business. The building subcommittee. I guess we're down one member.
Bill resigned, so now it's just you, Dawn, and Mike Fitzpatrick.
Yep. But I have nothing new to report.
Dawn, you doing anything behind our backs?
No, nothing exciting happening.
So are we not doing anything until the summer or something like that, when we're supposed to decide whether we want to have go out to bid for plans or something?
Yep, that was the last thing we reported, is we would reconsider the possibility of going out to bids for plans either when we hit $400,000 or next June.
Okay.
And that kind of just seemed like an easy way to keep the hounds at bay.
Yep.
Did we cover that already? What number we're up to?
Almost 100,000.
Okay.
Getting there. $90,026.31.
Okay.
Cool.
Which we could make $100,000 if we wanted to by voting to reserve some more grant money towards it.
Yeah.
But that's a question for another time. Maybe June.
Yeah. All right, moving on to electrical systems and interior plastering.
The electrical system is still a work in progress. We've got most of the work done, but he's got to come back. There's one emergency light that needs to be hardwired instead of being plugged into an outlet. And there's 2 outlets that need to be installed on either side of the front door facing the circulation desk, where we, you know, had computers before the pandemic, because the inspector didn't like the extension cords we had running around the pillars. But he's having a hard time sourcing things. He's got, you know, like the properly gauged wire is on back order, and, you know, the company that he orders it from has like 500 back orders for it. So it's like, we're literally waiting for cable because the pandemic has screwed up supply lines and sourcing, and apparently it's hit a lot of contractors, like building lumber is one of the things that's harder to get now than usual, and electrical stuff. But anyway, that's why it's not done yet.
Okay, because I thought sourcing was sourcing to another contractor to do the work. I didn't realize it was the materials were.
Sourcing is the word they use for, how they get their stuff.
Okay,
Like
so
if you ask someone to build a barn, they've got to source the wood.
Okay, all right.
All right, any other old building project stuff? If not, we can move on to grants.
We got our
Capital
first
campaign.
state aid check, $7,430.57.
Beautiful.
We should expect roughly the same amount again before the end of the fiscal year.
That's good.
And yeah, do we have that earmarked for something? Does that know where it's going?
It's
That's
just going into
general.
the library incentive municipal equalization grant account.
Okay.
Last year, what we did is we kept half of our disbursement, and then we earmarked the other half towards our building renovation capital campaign.
Okay.
So we only got around 10,000 last year.
Yeah, so we did get more this year. We got significantly more. Because that would be that amount. So last year's
Mhm.
first disbursement was
5,879.
would have been 5,879.70.
Hi, Grandma. Hey, can I call you back later? Why? Because I'm in a meeting right now.
Oh,
Mhm.
Thanks.
that was cute.
That was cute.
What do you mean? You got that?
Yeah,
We heard every word.
Oh, gosh.
that was cute, Grandma.
It's always good when kids or pets show up. Do we want to talk about putting some of this towards the capital campaign or save it for another time?
I want to spend some of it if you wait till later in the agenda.
All right, we'll come back to that. Yeah, didn't you send something out about that? It's coming back
Yeah.
to me. Okay.
It's
All
new
right.
business.
All right. Then any other grant
Nope.
news? All right, LRP updates.
I know the big thing has been papers. Y'all want us in the papers more. Their presence in the Blackstone Valley Tribune is already pretty strong. They don't do like a calendar so much, but they do publish. Anytime I send out a newsletter and they find something interesting in it, they crank it out into the BVT. The Express, we obviously have, firsthand contact through. The New Uxbridge Times, they've proven pretty hard to connect with. They're not responding to my emails, but I have made them aware of our calendar, and I'm waiting for their next issue to see if our virtual story times show up where y'all want them to show up. If they do, great, they got the message. If they don't, then I'll have to keep plugging away.
Do you get the Blackstone Valley Tribune at the library?
Yep.
Because most of the other towns' virtual offerings show up in that.
May haven't looked that far through, I don't guess. I know that we get on the front page of the Blackstone Valley Tribune a lot.
Yeah, I know, but the other towns get in the schedule.
Well, I'll poke them about the schedule too. I honestly didn't realize they had one. I don't flip through the whole thing.
All right, ready to move on to director's review, which looks like it's all done.
Yep, we signed it and we gave it to Matt.
All right, moving on to friends.
Oh.
Winter book auction is done.
Yeah.
You want to go first, Ellie?
No, I was going to say, you talk about the auction, Justin.
We raised $1,065 in bids. There were 39 active bidders. We didn't get as much, it didn't make the waves that the fall auction did, but I mean, I didn't really expect it to, since it was just, an auction for our discarded materials. And there were no, exciting trips to St. Martin at the most of the bidders who didn't win, and this is what I was saying before the meeting, whenever I set up this, I made book bundles as we were weeding and took them up to the loft and had them nicely numbered 1 through 184 in stacks, thinking that, as patrons came to the library to pick up their holds, they would want to pick up, the bundle or two that they won, and it would be a simple enough matter of handing them off. But no. It didn't work that way at all. Most of the bidders won. The average amount of bundles that a bidder won was 6. So on average, each bidder gets like 6 items. One guy won 19 items. And there are a lot of
Bundles, though, not 6 items, right?
Yeah, these are bundles. These are big armloads, sometimes 2 armloads of books, especially if you're carrying them down the stairs. So, I had them all prepped and ready to go up in the loft one by one. But now that we're trying to get rid of them, 6 by 6 and 12 by 12, they need to all go back down to the basement where I got them from to begin with, and organized by winner. So that's what I'm working on now. That'll probably take a week or 2 to get all of them out. Some of them will just need to be delivered because we had a lot of large print in the auction, and that got bid on and won by a handful of, little old ladies who aren't going to be able to come to the library and get 10 bundles of books, which have like 10, like 600 books.
Aren't there old men that get large print books, or is it just little old ladies?
Well, I'm sorry for the sexist comment, but so if you're looking at the backs of the Centerpoint large print books, which is where we sourced most of our large print books back whenever we were buying them, they were really easy to sort into bundles because they have the genre on them. And it's like, this is a cozy mystery. This is a, let's see, there were cozy mysteries. There was another kind of mystery. There was a few nonfiction, but the vast majority of them just said women's fiction.
Oh.
So I don't know what to make of that. It's just what was on the book.
Okay.
They definitely have an appeal to a certain demographic.
And they didn't mention little or big.
Little or big what?
Little or big
Old ladies.
Little old ladies. Look, I love my little old ladies, and I want to take care of my little old ladies. And I will drive their books to their houses and put them where they want them, instead of like throwing them all into their trunk where they're going to get jounced around, and then they don't know what to do with them whenever they get there.
Well, I think that's pretty good, considering the circumstances. Sounds
Yeah,
awesome.
so the $1,065, is that true money, or does that the web or the auction place take a cut out of the 1,065?
That's the high bids, so there will be a cut taken out of whatever people have paid with credit cards.
Yeah.
So far, only about $300 has been paid by credit card. So the rest will be
excellent.
coming in with cash or check, because we tried to push people to pay with cash or check if they could, so that we wouldn't have to pay those processing fees.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, the
all
Friends
that
did
money
that. The Friends
goes
did
to-
that.
All that money goes to the building fund, interest-bearing one, right?
So once it's all, sorted out in the wash, then, whatever is left after processing fees should get deposited into the building fund.
Okay. And I just would want to report on the membership drive. It's starting to slow down unless we got a million responses, which we don't even have that many people that live in Douglas.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that would be good. Pretty tricky.
I'm making a note to send mine in because I completely.
Good. And that was another thing I wanted to shame everybody, two of us that have renewed our membership for this year. But I really would appreciate it if trustees would be even at a $5 rate. I don't care what it is. Just support the Friends that way. It doesn't cost much to belong to the Friends. So. And we've so far gotten in for memberships, because none of the memberships have said, oh, I want this to go to the building fund or anything like that, which we did have quite a few last year, but we've had more than half the people that gave as members last year donated so far. So, and that's probably about 30 people that have come in today. So they do dribble in throughout the season, but the most active time is, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the flyer goes out. So that's exciting. And we also bought, we did spend some money on a card stock for the thank you notes that I have to mail to people that don't have email addresses. And we also bought appropriate size, and thank Justin for figuring all this out, the appropriate size envelopes so that they're not sent in white, cheapo business, big size envelopes. So, so now they look very classy. The handwritten notes, and they are handwritten. So I really love it when people do provide their email addresses, so I don't have to handwrite the thank yous.
We've had 2 people expressed an interest in being on the board too, and I gave them
Three people.
3 people. Okay.
Wow.
So one of them actually contacted the Friends instead of contacting me. Good job.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Any other old business? Was that old? Yeah, that was old, I guess. Wait, how was that old?
One thing,
No,
I should have done this in grants. I should have talked about this in grants, but it slipped in my mind. We got notification today that our cultural council grant was approved. So, usually we apply for grants for each individual performer for the summer reading program. And the cultural council will either, approve, or they'll approve. Usually they approve half of the amount, and we get the Friends to fund the other half whenever we're doing our big summer reading events. I did not want to waste any money this summer on doing any virtual summer reading programs, because last summer that was a wash. That was a waste of a lot of money, because we had these agreements with performers ahead of time, and they offered to do everything that they could virtually, but I mean our patrons just aren't interested. I mean, Deb has like 2 or 3 story time groups that are dedicated. Reaching out beyond that, virtual programming in Douglas is it doesn't work. So rather than repeat that fiasco for this upcoming summer reading season, I just applied for a blanket $1,000 cultural council grant to cover summer reading if we're able to do in-person summer reading programs. And if we're not able to do in-person summer reading programs, then we're not going to spend the money. It's going to go back to the cultural council to be used next year on something worth using it on, rather than throwing out the window again. So that was a grant we got. I just neglected to put it in here.
You got the full $1,000?
We got the full $1,000. So if as summer approaches, things are continuing to look good, and we are able to, do a good summer reading program with performers and events and whatnot, we have $1,000 from the cultural council to spend on the understanding that the Friends will split the cost. So kind of it will end up working out the way it usually does. If it happens, it's just a little bit of a different way of getting there. And we're not committed to spending the funds at this point. There won't be another Maycheck Arts incident. I never want to hear about Maycheck Arts again.
All right. That's good. We ready for new business? Attic door. That's right.
Yep.
Okay.
I just have one piece of new business, which is kind of, resurrecting a dead piece of old business. But I want to get the attic door made into a full human-sized door. We voted to close exploring this project about a year ago, I think, because we actually went out to get quotes. And Brian LaValle, who's Adam's guy, quoted converting the little mini door to a human door at $7,500, which at the time I felt was too much. When the pandemic started, we made most of our attic collection available for holds. Since delivery shut down, I wanted to make sure that, patrons had access to as much as they could. And one of the ways to do that was to make those collections, which were typically not holdable. We obviously missed some. And Ellie found one of them that we missed. But by and large, this collections up there circulate now. And so with staff going in and out of the attic every day and those collections needing more attention in terms of, shelving, shelf reading, retrieval, cleaning, collection maintenance, it's been a nightmare. So we either need to stop using the space or we need to convert the door. I do think that $7,500 is on the high end, but I would like to get some other quotes. And if no one quotes it cheaper, then I would want to spend it, or else just stop using the space because we're bumping our heads. It's just hard to get in and out of. It's not a feasible long-term thing to do.
So I keep on hearing myself echoing. I'm sorry, I'm stopping. I'm thinking about the word of sourcing again. How is the $7,500 going to be spent fast if sourcing things like lumber is not available or whatever else one has to have to make the door bigger?
I'm hoping it won't be as much of a problem because this is more of a matter of taking stuff away than it is putting stuff in. A portion of the ceiling has to be cut out to make room for the door. And then you just got to have a door. So, I think that this is the kind of project that's doable with stuff you can go get at Home Depot, rather than having to have, up to code spec electrical cables.
Okay, but could the builder or whoever, the contractor that gets hired, reuse some of the lumber that's being torn out repurpose it in making the door more open? And there was one other thing I was thinking of too, which I'll think of in the middle of your next sentence.
Okay, I'll start it really slowly. This is about the middle of it. Is it back yet?
No. I guess I want to know. Well, it's the rest of your second paragraph there where you say that we have about $20,000 that hasn't been spent. And does that include the $7,400 that you've just got for the LIGMEG, or is that $20,000?
That's our current account. So the current account, grant account, is at $26,452.
And that includes the $7,400 in it
Yes.
from this just this whatever. Okay.
Yep. Most recent dispersal.
All right. So we have 20,000 there right now. 20,500.
Mm-hmm. That hasn't been allocated. That's after you take out the 5,879 that we reserved for the building fund. So the 20,572 is unallocated and just waiting to be spent on whatever we decide to spend it on.
When you talked to Brian LaValle, is he a sole proprietor? Because apparently you don't have to pay prevailing wage if they are sole proprietor. Is that the right terminology?
Yep. He's a sole proprietor. He's done work with us in the past. He built he did the handrail out front. He did the paint on the windows. I think he fixed the round window that was broken upstairs.
Okay.
He actually painted my house in Sutton too, because I needed a painter and I knew he painted. So,
so you would look for sole proprietor, contractor type person. So
yeah, you know, there's our other sole proprietors in the Sutton, Douglas, Whitensville area who do small contract work. And, you know, this is a project I think that we should kind of shop around on a little bit, see if there is a better price to be had before committing, you know, to one quote.
So you're going to work. Go ahead.
Why don't you get a few more quotes from some local carpenters and see how they compare?
That's what I want to do.
And
Okay,
if he's the one you really like to do it and they're all lower than he is, have a conversation.
That can be a conversation for next month if I can get the quotes quick enough.
Yeah. Okay, so that's your aim, is to get quotes for next month.
Yep. That is what I would like to do.
They may have different ideas as to how to tackle the project also.
I know, I mean, originally, you know, whenever he came in and kind of just like looked at it the first time, he said that he thought, you know, $8,000 to $10,000 ought to be able to do both entrances to the attic, because we've kind of got two attics separated by a big hump. So that's why whenever, you know, we came back with, you know, an honest to God $7,500 quote just for one of them, I was like, oh, that wasn't the number I was expecting. But, you know, there's economies of scale at work too. So I don't know. But I mean, the thing is, you know, one side of the attic is not worth building stairs to. It's usable for, you know, storage and things, but nothing that we would want to be getting into and out of daily. Whereas the side of the attics that we're putting collections in is really something that we're accessing every day now.
Sounds good to me.
I will reach out and get some quotes.
Yay.
That's all I have. I don't have any other or anything like that. So Betty needs to call her granddaughter back.
Anybody else have any new business? If not, our next meeting is March 23rd. Even though I thought it was January. Apparently it's not. And I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.